You're welcome to my Vivi Creations. I am Vivian. So today we'll be making an A-line bubble gown. We have the fabric here. This is my lace fabric for the design, and this is the African print and my lining as well. Yes, we'll be lining the bubble. So I'm going to set this aside and we'll place our main fabric on fold. Okay, so I want to cut the back and the front together, so I'll have to fold in that way. So this is African print. So on this part of the African print, I don't have the measurement I need. That is, let me show you so you can see the length of the African print. It measures about 45 inches. So, and the bubu I'm making is longer than this. So instead of folding from this side, I'm just going to fold from this side. Okay, so I hope you can see. I'm going to fold this way. Okay, so by the time I fold this way, this is one panel, that is the front or the back panel. But because I want to cut the back and front together, I'm first of all going to take my measurement. That is, I'm going to take the full length of my gown from this side. By the time I take the full length, I'll then fold it to get the back and front. So I hope that is clear. Let me do it so that you would understand. Okay, so I'll just take the full length of my bubu plus the hemming allowance. Okay, so the full length is 54 inches, but I'll be using 56 inches. I'm adding 2 inches extra. So from that point now, I would fold my fabric. So this will be the front and I'll get the back. Okay, so I'll just fold my fabric into two. So by the time I fold it into two, this is just what I need for my bubu. Okay, so here I have the full length plus the seam and the hemming allowance. Okay, so this is just what I need for my bubu. So I would cut out the rest. So I'll just cut out this part and make do with this. Okay, so you can see I have folded it into two like this to get the back and the front. Now we're going to fold again this way. Okay, so we're folding into four now. After folding the other way, we'll fold this way. Okay, so we're folding into four. So on this side, you can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm actually taking my time to explain this because I'm making this for beginners. Okay, this video is actually targeted at beginners. So by the time you fold, make sure everything is folded equally. Make sure it is folded equally. Okay, so it is well folded now. So at this top here, I'll mark out my starting point. Okay, so that is why I added extra 1 inches at the lower side. So sorry for the background noise. Okay, there are some half poultry here. Okay, so just focus on the lesson. So I'll just mark out my starting point. I usually use 1 inch, but this is just okay, so that we can take our shoulder seam allowance from here. So here it is, and from this point I'll place my vertical measurement. So when I'm making an A-line gown, I like placing the under bust point, because that is where I usually extend my A-line, and this is A-line bubu. Okay, so it will be a bit free and at the same time it will have that shape. Okay, so to place my vertical measurement, I'll place the bust point, which is at 10.5 inches, the under bust, which is at 14.5. Okay, so the reason I'm explaining this is because you'll be wondering what under bust point is doing on bubu. So like I said, it is where I usually extend the bubu from, or the A-line gown from. Okay, so you can use either the under bust or the waist point. Okay, so by the time you have done that, when you place your under bust point, you can skip the waist point, but if you like, you can place it, there's no problem. You can place it for the sake of the horizontal measurement. So I marked at the waist point, and the hip point is also important so that you can place your hip circumference. Okay, then from here we have the full length of the bubu. Okay, and that is it. So I'll just extend my lines. So I've marked out my lines. Okay, so now I'll place my shoulder measurement. So I'm using 8 inches for the shoulder measurement. Okay, shoulder divided by 2 plus half inch for the sleeve. Then the neck width is 3.5, and the neck depth is 3.5 as well. So this for the front. Okay, this for the front. While for the back, I'll be using 1 inch for the depth. Yes, the back is higher. So this for the front neck line. Then for our back, we use 1 inch. I'm using 1 inch. So you can use whatever you want. Okay, so this for the back and the front. Okay, so remember I folded everything together. So I'll first of all cut out the back neckline, remove the back and cut out the front. Okay, so at the shoulder here, where I place my shoulder measurement, I'm stepping down by 1 inch for shoulder slope. So I'm actually using a bold chalk so that you can see the markings clearly. Though I know that this chalk is so bold and it can add to my measurement, but no problem. So from here, I'll place my armhole depth, okay, which is also 8 inches. So to be sure of what I'm doing here, I have to place the same measurement I have here, and this is where it falls. So just extend it. So at this point, I'll place my armhole curve. Okay, to do that, I'll just place my bust circumference divided by 4. Here it is. Okay, so I'll just place my armhole like so. So this is bubu, so I'm not making any special effect at the armhole. Okay, so I will be adding extra inches for ease and for seam allowance, because this is bubu, want it free. So I'll be adding 2 inches for ease. So the 2 inches means that, you know, our fabric is on fold. When I add 2 inches here, it means I've added 4 inches to the front and 4 inches to the back. That is 8 inches in total. So I've added 8 inches in total to the person's measurement. Okay, so this is where I marked my bust measurement. So I'm adding 2 inches for ease and 1.5 for seam allowance, and then for the lining intake. Remember, I'll be using lining. So I added 1.5 for seam allowance. From that 1.5, by the time I take in like 1/4 of an inch or half for the lining, we'll have about 1 inch remaining for the seam allowance. Okay, so in total here I have 3.5 inches. Okay, because 2 inches for ease and 1.5 for seam allowance. Okay, so in order not to forget, at the top here I would add my ½ inch for shoulder seam allowance. So I do this all the time, because if you don't do this, by the time you join your front and the back at the shoulder, you'll be altering your neckline and the armhole. So when you do this, make sure you're blending it with your neckline and your shoulder. Okay, make sure you're just blending it up, and that is it. So now we'll place the rest of the horizontal measurement. So like I told you, I usually use the under bust circumference. Okay, so the under bust circumference here is 8.5. That is under bust divided by 4 is 8.5 plus 3.5 inches that I added here. That is 2 inches for ease and 1.5 for seam allowance. That is okay, that is it. So you can still place your waist measurement. Okay, so the waist measurement here is 9.25. Yeah, so remember I'm dividing everything by 4 plus my extra At the hip, we have 10.5. 10.5 at the hip plus 3.5. So now, like I said, I like connecting, that is extending my A line from the under bust. So you just place your ruler from here to the end of the gown. Okay, so when you place your ruler, you have to make sure that the waist and the hip are included, are inside. If not, just try to, place your ruler in such a way that everything would fall in into the measurement. Okay, so that's what I'll do. So but before that, let me connect from the armhole or the chest line to this point. Then from there I would, so I have a very long ruler that I usually use to do this. Okay, so let me just bring this out. So now at the lower side, it depends on what you want. You can actually use the whole of the fabric if you want it very wide, or you can measure. So sometimes I like using the hip circumference divided by 4 plus at least 8 inches. Okay, so the hip circumference divided by 4 is 10.5. I don't know if you can see this. Let me check. So the hip circumference divided by 4 is 10.5. That is it. Then I'll add extra 8 inches. Okay, so that is what I usually do, or even 9. So you can use 9, you can use 10, depending on how wide you want the lower side to be. So I'm okay with this. So from that under bust, I will just place my long ruler and make it to touch that point. But while you are doing that, make sure that your hip and the waist are inside the measurement. Okay, so I want to ensure that what I'll do is just to bring it out a little bit like this. Okay, then I would connect it. So it's okay like this. So you can see what we have here. Okay, so by the time you have done this, just smoothing out this place. It shouldn't be sharp. Okay, so just smoothing it out. I have something under here, that is why on my table. So just smoothing it out. Okay, so it will not be sharp. Just smoothing out this side, and now we are good to go. I'll go ahead and cut it. So don't forget, when you're cutting back and front together, remember to first of all cut out the back before you cut out the front. Remove your back before going ahead to cut the front. So this is our A-line gown, maxi A-line gown, and because of the width, the wideness, you can also call this a bubu. Okay, so I've just cut out the back neckline. Sorry, this is it here. Then my shoulder. All right, so this is it. Now I would remove the back and cut out the front. Okay, that is the front neckline. So I'll just remove the back and align it up and cut out the front. Okay, so you can just remove it completely. So I'll go ahead and use this to cut my lining fabric. So for the lining, it will be about 1 inch shorter than the main fabric, that is in length. Okay, so that we can use it to hem it, to be 1 inch shorter. That is the lining. So I'll go ahead and cut out the neckline. I'll have it. Okay, so this is it. Right now I'll use this to cut the lining piece. Like I said, at the lower part, the lining will be 1 inch shorter than this. So let's do that. So I've gone ahead to cut the lining. Okay, so like I said, at the lower part I stepped up. That is, the lining is shorter than the main fabric by 1 inch. Okay, so to stitch our lining, first of all stitch it at the lower part here. By the time you stitch at the lower part, you then pull it up and stitch the neckline and the neckline. Okay, just stitch the neckline and the sides. So let me do that so you understand. So by the time you stitch the lower part, you pull the lining up. It will just, what it will do is it will just hem this part like this. Okay, so that is it. So like I said, I'm doing this for beginners. So after stitching the lower part, you pull your lining up. It will match up back to the neckline. You stitch your neckline and the sides. So the lining will be placed at the good side of our main fabric. So let me just do that. So just open it up like this. Place the lining. So I'm placing it on the good side so that after stitching, we'll turn it to the wrong side. So I'll start stitching from this lower side. I'll just align it here and stitch. Okay, so by the time I stitch this side, I'll just pull it up to align back to the armhole and the neckline. So I'll stitch the neckline and the sides, leaving the shoulder and the armhole open. So now turn it to the other side. So I'll do same to the back, then I'll show you what we have. Okay, so in case you might ask, is there no zipper in this? There's no zipper. Okay, because it is very free and the neckline is wide enough to, take the head. So there's no zipper in this. So I'll go ahead now and fix my lining. Then we'll join the back and the front. Then I'll show you how to cut the sleeve and the rest part of the rest thing we need to do, which is the design with the lace. Okay, so let me do just that. So I've stitched the lining. Okay, as you can see, it's the lower part. By the time I turn it, you see what we have there. So at the neckline now, I'm going to notch it before turning it to the other side. Okay, so just give it some notches. Carefully do this so that you don't cut your seam. So I hope you can see what I'm doing. Just notch it. Okay, so like I said, I'm actually doing this having beginners in mind. That is why I'm showing all this. So by the time we have notched the neckline, we're going to just turn everything from the armhole here. So just go ahead and iron it. Okay, so you can see what we have here because of the 1 inch reduction in the lining. So this is what it will give you. So you go ahead and give it a good press. Okay, you iron it out very well. You iron out the sides and the neck line. Okay, so I'll do that. So right now, after ironing it out, you take your back and front and place them good sides facing each other. Then we'll go ahead to stitch the shoulder. After stitching the shoulder, I'll stitch the sides, but before stitching the side, I'll have to add my pocket. Okay, so for the pocket, I'll measure from my shoulder to the waist line. So the pocket will be starting from the waist line, okay, to wherever it gets to. So for the pocket, I did 11 inches, and for the width we have about 9 inches. So the reason I did this, the reason I took 11 inches is this. Remember, our seam allowance here is 1 inch. So whatever seam allowance you're using, that is what you're taking off from your pocket. That is, you're going to place your pocket like so, and you're stitching by 1 inch. Okay, so whatever that is left is the actual size of the pocket, and anything can go in, your phone and some other things. Okay, so that is it. So for the shoulder now, we're just going to place them together like this, good sides facing each other. Then I will use the lining for the back to flip over. So just flip over the lining for the back and align everything, lining to lining, main fabric to main fabric, and I'll go ahead to stitch by 1/2 inch. Okay, so let me hold that hold it down with pin, so that I can also hold the other side. And after, by the time I stitch it down, I'll go ahead and stitch the sides. Okay, also fixing my pocket at once. So I think I should also show you how to place your pocket, and you go about to stitch it. Okay, so let me just do the shoulder. So that is it for this one. I'll do same thing on this other side. So make sure that everything aligns. So I'll just align them up, then take the lining for the back, flip it over, and by the time you flip over, you align everything, making sure that all the edges are matching up like so. Okay, then you go ahead and stitch by 1/2 inch. So I'll just pin it down. So this is it for the shoulder, so that by the time we stitch it, this is what we'll be having. Okay, we'll be having it this way. So I'm just doing this so that you can pick it. Okay, so just stitch. Now for our pocket, let me show you what you're going to do, so that I can just go ahead and do everything. Then I'll come back to show you how to cut the sleeve. So for pocket, I'll measure from my shoulder to the waistline. So from the shoulder, the waist is at 17 inches. Okay, here it is. So you take your pocket. So remember, for the pocket, you are cutting 2 pieces for each side. Okay, so you take your pieces like this. You take one, you're going to just place it this way. You're placing it this way, so the good side of your pocket to the good side of your gown. Okay, so I marked this the wrong side, so the good sides you match it up, starting from that 17 inches like this, because we're going to stitch it. Okay, so go ahead and stitch it by 1 inch, which is the seam allowance, or whatever seam allowance you're using. That is what you're going to use to stitch it. So you're going to stitch this one
so that on the good side this is what you have. Then you also take this one, so make sure your markings, we marked at 17 inches. Make sure you mark it at this side as well, so that you place this one good sides facing each other. You start like this, okay, you match it and you go ahead to stitch. So I'm using pin to hold it to show you how I would stitch it. So don't forget to use stitching by the seam allowance you took. So for me, 1 inch is the seam allowance I'm using. So I'll go ahead and stitch it. So for by the time you have stitched the pocket piece, you stitch this one, you stitch this one, then you go ahead and start stitching the sides like this. You start stitching. By the time you get to this point, you go ahead, stitch this way, then you come back to this side, then you continue your stitching all the way down. Okay, so that is it for how to fix the pocket. Okay, so you see the reason I took about 9 inches here. By the time you stitch, you can stitch with like ½ inch all around. You have enough space for the hand to go in. Okay, so let me go ahead and do all this and show you the next step. Okay, so I've gone ahead to stitch it. Okay, and this is the pocket here. So we have the pocket here and here. Okay, so it's now time for us to cut the sleeve. So I just left some opening here for the sleeve. So to be able to cut your sleeve, you need to measure your armhole. So you measure from here to here. Okay, so let me do that. So we have 13 inches. So this is what we'll be cutting our sleeve with. Okay, so I will place my fabric on fold to cut the sleeve. So because I want to cut the 2 sleeves, I folded this way. I folded like this, and I'll fold again so that I'll be able to cut the 2 sleeves at once. So I'll just fold. So at this side, we need to be sure that I'll have that 13 inches. Okay, so let me just place it this way. So you can see I folded like this. So the reason is for me to be able to cut the 2 sleeves at once. So if you want to cut your sleeve one by one, all you need to do is just to fold your fabric. Okay, then you make sure that you have up to 13 inches on this side when you fold. So I have more than 13. I'll just reduce it to 13 because that 13 includes our seam allowance from the gown. Okay, so I have 13. So this is okay. This is okay. So I have 13 inches. So now I'll place the sleeve cap. Okay, the sleeve cap. So if you don't know how to calculate the sleeve cap, I'll leave it on the screen. Okay, so for this client, her sleeve cap, the sleeve cap's height is 4 inches. So I'll just mark at 4 inches. Okay, so I'll mark at 4 inches. Then I'll just roll it. Okay, so now I will draw a line. Make sure that you have 13 inches on this line. So this is where we have 13 inches. So I'll draw a line from this point to the starting point of our sleeve. So I'll just draw a line like this. Okay, so by the time you have done this, you can also place your
sleeve length, that is the length of your sleeve. So for this it is 14 inches plus half inch for turning in the lining, that is 14.5, but let me leave it at 15. Okay, so I'm using 15 inches. Okay, so this is the length of the sleeve. Now this slanted line, I would measure it and find the midpoint. I'll measure it and find the midpoint. Okay, and here you have the midpoint. At this midpoint we'll step up by half inch, so it's just like making a basic sleeve. Okay, so by the time you step up by half inch, you're going to curve from this point to touch the half inch, then from there we'll curve down. So this is it, just go like this. By the time it touches it, you start going down to touch this one. Okay, so you have your sleeve just like that. Okay, so for the round sleeve I'll be using 9 inches, but I'll add 1 inch for seam allowance, so that is 10 inches. Okay, so mark it. So once it's a bit bold, they will connect it like so. So because I'll be joining something at the edge here, so I'll be joining my lace fabric. I have folded the lace fabric, so I measured 7 inches and folded, so that by the time I folded in by half inch, I'm having 3 inches left. Okay, so I'm going to make pleats with this at this lower part. So because of that pleat, I would reduce this side, okay, so that it will not just be longer than the center. So I hope you understand. This is the under, which is at the underarm area, so I want to reduce it. So just go up by 2 inches. The one we have here is 3 inches, so you can just go up by that 3 inches, so that by the time you join, everything will just align. Okay, so let me use 2.5 inches. Then just find the midpoint of this and you just connect it to that midpoint like so. Okay, so this is it, and I'll go ahead and cut. So we have our sleeve here. So I'll use this now to cut the lining. After cutting the lining, then I would make the pleat. But before that, I want to also make an opening at the center here. Okay, I want to make an opening at the center. So what I need is just to find the midpoint, which I already have here, following my grain line. So let me fold it again and be very sure. So I want to have an opening. So you can just make it this way and this way. So I'm just going to make an opening, okay, because we'll be pleating. I want to pleat this from this point like this all the way and like this as well. So let's just create the opening. So I didn't just measure it, okay, I just did it like that. So I'll go ahead and use this to cut my lining. Then we'll join it to the body's end, I'll just make the pleats with my lace. Okay,
So I've stitched the sleeve, okay, as you can see, I've stitched the sleeve. Then I went ahead to add my lace trims, okay. So what I did was I just stitched it to this side, okay. You can see as I was stitching, like I was just pleating it, okay. I was just pleating it. So what I did was, before closing it here, I attached the sleeve. Then I left this place open so that I can, you know, open up the sleeve. Then I stitched this up to this point. When I stitched it up to this point, I then closed up this area and continued all the way, okay. And I stopped here. When I got to this point, I just stitched the remaining lace to this one, and that is how we have it like this, okay. So remember the part I opened up, so that is the effect there. So this is it for our sleeve. Now I also want to pleat the lace around the neckline, and if it to get to the back, I'll do so. So what I'll do is, first of all, measure where I want it to be. So from the neckline here to get to the shoulder, that is it, to get to this point, so it will just be like a continuation stuff. So it's 4 inches, okay. For this one, I'll just place it down somehow like this and conceal this edge. So I don't want it to just be like that, so it's going to be somewhat like this. So I don't know if you can see this side, okay. So it's just going to be, to just go down like this, because I don't want the edge out this way. So by the time I just stitch this one down, then this one would go across it, like it will just come from that point, okay. Though I might start from the back if I see that the lace is long enough to take from the back to the front, okay. So I'll pleat this one like that. So if I check if my lace is enough, then I'll have to start from the back. But this is how I want to take the measurements. Since I'm measuring from this point to this point, is 4 inches. So I'll just mark 4 inches all through. From the neckline, I'll mark 4 inches. So this will give me a guide on where I would stitch the net, okay. So it's a guide on where I would stitch the neck, so that I will not just stitch it anyhow, okay. So this 4 inches is how it will go. So I'm marking it so that I'll just stitch it on the mark like that, okay. So that is it to this point as well. So I'll just follow the mark like this and make my pleats, okay. So I will check it. If it to get to the back, I'll do same. So it will just come from the center back like that and back to the center back. So measuring 4 inches as well. So this is how it's going to be, to just flow from there. So as I stitch, I pleat, okay. So I'll just pleat it. So remember, for the width of this lace, I cut out 7 inches, then folded it by ½ inch, which left us having 3 inches. So you can see what we have. Isn't this beautiful? So I'll just go ahead and stitch it. Yes, I'll go ahead and stitch it, and we'll see if it will also get to the back. Yeah, I think we will have enough to go to the back, because I still have some more lace remaining. So in total, I have that is 1 yard. I'm using 1 yard lace for this. So this one will also go Yeah, so you can see. So I think this is beautiful. So I'll go ahead and do it. You can see the way it's flowing from the one from the sleeve. So it will get to the back, and that will be it. Okay, so let me just go ahead and do this, and you see the final look of the gown. And this is the final look of our A-line bubu gown. I hope you liked the video. Please give it a like, share with your friends, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, please hit on that subscribe button and turn on your notification bell so that whenever I upload a new video, you will be notified. Thank you for watching. I'd love to see you in my next video. Remain blessed.